In what's been a relatively calm stretch for college basketball news, one major development stirred the pot midweek, and it involves a familiar name that's been on our radar for months: the North Carolina Tar Heels. As the dust begins to settle post transfer portal, it's time for a deeper dive into where this blue blood program actually stands. Let's start at the top. It was just a few months ago when questions swirled around head coach Hubert Davis, his leadership, his system, and whether the Tar Heels were heading in the right direction. Early season struggles had fans and analysts wondering if his job was secure. As it turns out, Davis not only survived the storm, but secured a contract extension. Yet, rather than quieting critics, that move only sharpened the focus on what would come next. And Davis himself seemed to acknowledge the need for evolution, openly calling for structural changes, including the addition of a program GM, a forward-thinking move in today's college hoops landscape. Fast forward to this week, ESPN's Jonathan Givney broke the news that former five-star prospect and McDonald's All-American Drake Powell has entered his name into the NBA draft. Powell, while not a statistical juggernaut, he averaged just over 7 points and 3 rebounds a game, was seen as a upside player who could blossom with another year in Chapel Hill. Now, his departure adds another wrinkle to an offseason that was supposed to be about transformation, not attrition. What sparked conversation wasn't just the news itself, but the broader implications. Social media lit up when one analyst pointedly questioned whether the Tar Heels are actually in a better position now than they were a year ago, despite hiring a GM and rallying booster support. The tweet caused a stir among Carolina faithful. Many disagreed, some agreed, but it raised a valid question. Has all this offseason effort translated into a stronger roster? Let's break it down. Gone are R.J. Davis, who graduated after a stellar career, Elliot Cadeau, who dipped into the portal, a move that was hinted at long before it happened, and Ian Jackson, whose exit we've already dissected in the context of both UNC and St. John's. Add in a few other quiet departures, and the Tar Heels have experienced more turnover than continuity. So what remains? And more importantly, what's coming in? That's the conversation now. With Powell testing the draft waters, there's another scholarship spot open. That means UNC isn't done shopping. The portal may be closed, but players can still commit, and that leaves the door open for last-minute additions to change the narrative. Carolina fans were promised change, and to Davis's credit, the program has moved toward a more modern infrastructure. But the big question lingers. Is the 2025-26 roster truly better equipped to compete on a national level? The offseason is far from over, and how the staff closes the next few weeks could define not only next season, but possibly the Hubert Davis era itself. As the North Carolina Tar Heels look to reshape their identity after a turbulent year, the conversation shifts from what's been lost to what's been built. With the offseason in full swing and the roster nearly finalized, the question now becomes, has UNC quietly assembled a squad that can compete at the top level once again? Let's start with the holdovers. Few, but important. Seth Trimble stands out as the primary returnee, and his growth over the past season shouldn't be overlooked. Posting 11.5 points and grabbing 5 rebounds per game, Trimble showed toughness and an ability to contribute on both ends despite battling through injuries. He may not be a headliner, but he's a glue guy who gives Carolina much-needed continuity. The bigger story, though, lies in the new additions. One of the most intriguing is Henri Visar, the 7-footer from Arizona. Visar's numbers may not jump off the page, 9.5 points and 5 boards in 20 minutes per game, but the potential is obvious. He can stretch the floor with a respectable 33% clip from deep and had breakout performances when given a bigger role late in the season, including a 22.8 rebound night against Arizona State. His inside-out versatility gives UNC a front-court weapon they haven't had in a while. Another key front-court addition is Jiren Stevenson, who transfers in after a quiet but meaningful stint at Alabama. Caught in a crowded rotation, Stevenson didn't always get the minutes, but when he did, he showed flashes, especially in that memorable 19-point performance in the Elite Eight. With a clear role in Chapel Hill, he could thrive. Incoming freshman Caleb Wilson adds another layer of promise. At 6'10", he brings playmaking ability and agility rare for someone his size. His skill set echoes Stevenson's, but with even more upside. Wilson is still raw, but he could be a long-term difference maker. In the backcourt, things get interesting. Ken Evans joins from Colorado State, and while undersized at just over 6 feet, he brings shooting and control, 44% from 3 and nearly 4 assists per game on a team that made a strong postseason push. He's not going to overwhelm physically, but he knows how to play and fits a need. West Virginia transfer Jonathan Powell is another perimeter piece who adds depth and scoring potential. Altogether, the Tar Heels have built a roster that blends size, versatility, and experience with just enough upside to be dangerous. But while there are reasons for optimism, questions remain. Is there enough dynamic shot creation on the perimeter? Can the new faces gel in time to make a serious March run? And is there one more piece out there, a lead guard or veteran wing that could tie it all together? The program has made serious moves this offseason, and credit is due, but as the dust settles, one thing is clear. The rebuild isn't just about replacing talent, it's about finding cohesion, identity, and edge. UNC may not be a finished product yet, but they've laid a foundation worth watching closely. The pressure now shifts to Hubert Davis and his new look staff to make it all work. Jonathan Powell, the transfer from West Virginia, brings intrigue to the conversation. At 6'6", he offers shooting touch and size on the wing, eerily similar to what the team hoped to get from Drake Powell, who has since entered the draft. Was Powell a direct replacement or merely insurance? That's up for debate, but his 8.5 points per game in the rugged Big 12 and a 15-point performance to close the regular season show, he's capable of stepping up. Still, is he ready to jump from a role player to a go-to scorer in Chapel Hill? The core of the roster now looks like this: Ken Evans, Seth Trimble, Jonathan Powell, Caleb Wilson, Jiren Stevenson, and Henri Visar. That's a blend of experience, length, and shooting, an intentional pivot from last year's squad that was undersized at guard and lacked physicality inside. This time around, the front court is loaded. Visar is a skilled 7-footer who can stretch the floor. Stevenson brings length and versatility, and Wilson's raw athleticism hints at long-term stardom. For now, the Tar Heels seem one key piece away: a reliable, high-volume perimeter scorer who can handle the pressure and deliver when the lights shine brightest. If they land that kind of player, suddenly this roster starts looking like a legitimate ACC contender again, and fans might be justified in saying this group is better equipped than the one that began last year in the preseason top 10. But without that addition, the pressure mounts on newcomers like Powell and Evans to be more than just solid. They'll need to be stars. If they can't, Carolina may once again fall just short, but if they can, it could be a season to remember in Chapel Hill. The table is set. The only question left is whether another course is still on the way.